Ching Hexagram number 62. Sao, que, preponderance of the small. Thinking of taking action in distrust of fate. This hexagram deals with our own or other people's rigid attitudes, strong elements such as fear, envy, anger, desire, vindictiveness, or obstinacy preponderate, and consequently we feel pressured to act. From the perspective of our ego, non-action seems ineffective and unnatural. Nevertheless, receiving this hexagram indicates that non-action is required. We should resist pressures that make us distrust the creative power of the unknown. We should also beware of attaching ourselves enthusiastically to solutions simply because of this pressure, and we should avoid seeking comprehensive answers. The answer we need now will be found if we allow ourselves to be led through the small door of the improbable that opens only at the precise moment of need. It helps if we remember that there is always a hidden solution to the problem at hand. Meanwhile, we should keep ourselves open and unstructured, remaining calmly in the ambiguous spot. This is possible only if we modestly keep our eyes turned away from the problem. It is not necessary to venture so far as to trust the unknown, but it is essential to disperse our distrust of it. Fear causes us to exaggerate the importance of succeeding. We know that the situation is important, and therefore we distrust ourselves and fate to carry us through. We should resist this fear before it turns into desire and ambition to do something. Changing line number 1. The bird meets with misfortune through flying. Being fledged means being free of pressure to act. Flying before we are fledged means acting before it is correct to do so. We follow a plan or strategy because we distrust the creative to show us the way as we go. We should flow with the course of events, responding spontaneously to each situation as it occurs, without defining its meaning or importance. We should also remain loose and open, clinging to the creative for help, even though we must remain in an emotionally uncomfortable situation. Resistance blocks aid when we most need it. Changing line number 2. He does not reach his prince. no blame. Not reaching his prince means we have not yet received a clear or comprehensive idea of how to proceed. It also means that the situation has not yet developed to the extent that success is possible. We should not be discouraged. We should keep our mind open and unstructured, allowing the way to show itself. Meanwhile, it is an expression of modesty to cease looking anxiously or despondently at the situation. We need only do our best and meet the result with acceptance. Changing line number 3. If one is not extremely careful, misfortune, when we decide for or against someone, we hasten to resolve the ambiguous moment. Such self-confidence will backfire. We abandon the path by choosing to follow our impatient and childish ego rather than allowing the creative to work. In close proximity to evil, our inferiors try to crystallize themselves into a knight in shining armor in order to jump into battle with the evil thing. This ploy, however well-intentioned, fails because we go too far. Instead of recognizing evil for what it is and asking the higher power for help, instead of keeping detached and allowing the evil thing to die of its own accord, we fight it tooth and nail. The white knight is our vainglorious ego involving itself in the situation. Much is done because of the fallout. Changing line number 4. Do not act. Be constantly persevering, because we have persevered and our goals have not yet been achieved. We begin to feel that fate is hostile, or we doubt the beneficial nature of the cosmos, or we distrust the sage's guidance. In bearing with the difficulties, an element of hardness has crept into our character. We need to yield modestly to fate. We are like an overloaded mule, poised on the edge of the canyon, ready to buck. The mule distrusts the master's guidance, but rebelling would endanger its life. Things seem impossible to bear, but if we endure through this situation, all will be well. We should not act simply to get rid of our load. Here, do not act means do not give up. Changing line number 5. Dense clouds. To distrust our path is to distrust the sage who guides us. We cannot make our way in the hidden world alone. We need the sage's help, which can only be obtained through a modest acceptance of our fate. Even if we were born to set the world in order, we could achieve this goal only by the small means of self-correction. Self-correction, in turn, cannot be accomplished without the sage, whose help we may obtain only by seeking it modestly. Changing line number 6. The flying bird leaves him, misfortune. If through fear and doubt we restlessly turn our backs on the sage and on our path, we will energize hostile forces. Such obstinacy leads to misfortune. Such obstinacy leads to misfortune. As the mother said, whose intuition warned her against sailing on the Titanic, for its owners to say the ship was unsinkable was to fly in the face of God. To adopt an I don't care mood is to leave caution and modesty behind. This completes hexagram number 62.